morning, everybody. This is Bobby Piton, and I'm here to go over a morning update on the markets, as well as discuss some of the spending bill that was passed by the House. It's now going to go to the Senate this week. And let me just post it one spot. Morning market update. And I want to go through some numbers. As you know, I like to think of the world in numbers, and so that's what you're going to get more of today. It's pretty crazy stuff that we see, that I see in the numbers at first glance. Now, keep in mind that this is only the House of Representatives bill that was passed, and so this is not the final version. So I want to go through that. And as you know, if you're paying attention to the markets, I'm not sure if you're invested. Futures are up today across the board on the indexes, as well as international markets are up. And you know, when there's this sugar high that's taking place, where the government just continues to spend money, and we kind of kick the can down the road, the proverbial can down the road, as they say, you're going to see the market continue to trade up on that, because it's once again another stimulus. How we're going to pay for it theoretically over time is another question. And so with that being said, I want to point out two main things that are pretty crazy that are occurring at the same time that these massive amounts of money are being doled out. Now, keep in mind, last year, all the spending, I think, exceeded $20,000 of new debt for every worker. Now, the reason why I say workers and not Americans, and I understand the concept that the younger people coming up are going to owe this debt, but we, as the workers of the country, there's about 150 million people or so working. 10 million people lost their job last year. We took on at least $20,000 of new debt last year. Okay. Now, I want you to think about that number. For every single person that was working, 20,000 of new debt was taken on by that person. And so whatever you got back from the government, just subtract that from the 20,000. Maybe you came out ahead. Maybe you're like, this was not a good deal. Well, if you look at this current bill, for the 150 million people working, they want to take on an additional debt of $12,666 per worker, which is pretty crazy the way that math works out, right? $12,666 on the workforce that currently exists. Now, of this money, I was curious, like, okay, well, how many people are eligible to get it? And it's right now, it's people that are making under $75,000 that are individually filing, and then 150,000 as a couple, and then it's based on those two metrics, and it's per person, which I'm assuming per household. So in the United States, there's about 2.53 people per household, and there's approximately 81.4% of the U.S. population that falls in that range. So there's about 18.6% of the U.S. population makes more than those two numbers, the 75 and 150. Okay, so that number, when you add up the $1,400 they're proposing, comes out to 11% of the total that they're looking to raise. So they're trying to raise 1.9 trillion is what the deal is, and they're essentially going to spend about 11% of that total on that metrics, that $1,400. Okay, so it's I think it was like a little over $200 billion, maybe 220 billion, based on the numbers that I'm using as my estimates. Now, what's more alarming, if you kind of go under the hood. Now, granted, I haven't read this whole bill, and I'll definitely look at it and to see what other information is in it. I'm just kind of highlighting some of the big ticket items. They want to create, they want to kind of set the precursor for communism in this bill. And why do I say that? How are they trying to push communism through this bill, Bobby? Well, there's a provision in there that everybody from the age of 0 to 6 will receive about $3,600 a year in this bill. So you're like, what? So anybody under the age of 6, any families that have children under the age of 6 will basically get $600, $3,600 a year. So $300 a month of like guaranteed income for a child, right, from our government. And that there's 23.6 children, supposedly, who knows if the numbers are all accurate, under the age of 6. So this would cost us $85 billion a year as a nation to do this, to give $300 to every child under the age of 6 per month is $85 billion. And as you know, once, as Ronald Reagan would say, President Reagan, the closest thing to eternal life on this earth is a government program. Once you get a government program going, try to take it down. It's very, very hard, and it doesn't happen very often. Okay, that's just one piece. The second piece is the ages of 7 to 17. They want to give those children $3,000 a year. So a little less, $250 a month. Now that figure comes out to be $150 billion, 149.8, because there's 49.94 kids between the ages of 7 and 17 in this country. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I know this is a little controversial, but I can't help but think how many of these kids are here illegally. How many, because we have a right to know if we're footing the bill as legal citizens who came here legally. My parents immigrated to this country legally. And so I can't help but wonder, the number of children right now by illegals in the United States is probably over 20%. I've seen estimates as high as 40%. So that's a really damning number that illegals, the children of illegals, might be entitled, and I'm not sure. I got to read the fine print, to 20 to 40% of 235 billion as an opening start. So you're saying, basically, I'm saying is they may get 47 to 94 billion dollars a year. Wow. What's crazy about that number, 47 to 94 billion? We're literally writing a check for $1 trillion, almost, at least $1 trillion over the next 10 years. That's insane. So with this country being worth 110 trillion, they're kind of setting the groundwork to say, look, we're going to give you all this money, but then, hey, if you want to keep this money, this is the opening, you're going to have to jump through these hoops, and you're going to have to do what we say, and you're going to have to get vaccinated, and you're going to have to go to this school and stay in this area. And if you leave this area, you lose your benefit. So this is how it starts, folks. So they're trying to push this communistic agenda, and communism is nothing more than a form of Satanism, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll probably say that politically, economically, my professional career, communism is Satanism, okay? It is an evil ideology. We've spent we've lost a lot of blood and a lot of treasure as a nation fighting it, and now it has landed on our shores, and it's extremely disturbing. And looking at this bill, if this wasn't enough of an insult that they want to give away this much money, almost $50 billion to $100 billion a year, to the children of illegals. I'm not talking legal immigrants, the people that follow the rules. I'm talking about people that snuck in here, broke the law, and think that there should be no consequences, that they might be able to get $50 to $100 billion a year. And meanwhile, the people footing the bill are going to get, all in, they get less than 250 billion. So the people that broke the law are going to possibly get 50 to 100 billion. The people that are following the law, that are taking on the debt of $12,666 per person, are only getting 11 cents on a dollar back if they make under 150,000 as a couple. So now, granted, some of that money will flow to their children if they're here legally, which I don't have a problem with, that component of it. But this is a very serious issue. Now, when you add up these numbers, you add up how much to kids 0 to 6, 7 to 17, the $1,400. A funny thing happens. It's only you only come up with about 31.8% of the money. So it's like, wait a second. You guys want to do all this insane stuff, and 31.8% of the money spent. Where's the other 68% going? We don't even get a third of it back. So it's like, this is insane. We get, all that money going to all those folks, even the ones that don't deserve the money, that broke the law. We get less than a third of the pie. So where's the other 68% going, the over 1.3, 1.4 trillion dollars? That's a good question. I haven't dug under the hood on this one, but if you guys think I should, I definitely will take a look at it. So now keep in mind that since the election day, interest rates in this country, the 10-year treasury was 0.77. So it's less than 1%, 0.75 of 1%. Now it's almost 1.5%. So it's almost doubled. That's not a good sign, folks. When interest rates start going up, that's a little bit, I understand the concept that if the interest rates are going up, the economy's growing, that's why it's happening. But that theory holds, and people that think that they understand, they understand how this mechanism works flawlessly. I'm going to say one thing. I've been doing this 25 years, and I've seen the theoretical underpinnings of why it should work the way it does, but I've seen the market behave in ways in which it doesn't work that way. So this concept that there's an exact formula and how it's always going to behave is bogus. It's not true. And so sometimes when rates are going up, yes, it can be a sign that the economy is growing if you don't have a situation where the government's taking on another $12,000 of debt per person. That's not a healthy sign. It's a bad sign. That means debt holders are saying, hey, if you're going to take on more debt, you're hurting the credit of the country. I'm going to have to get paid more for that risk. And not just U.S. investors, but global investors. So this concept that we're growing, when you grow, when you keep adding debt, you really got an interesting way of doing it. If the debt is being taken on for consumption, if the debt's being taken on for investment, yes, then it's good debt. But if you take the debt on for pure consumption, that's not growth. That's not going to lead to sustainable growth. That's just treading water. If you were making $100,000 a year and you spend 120, but the 20,000 you spent it going out to dinner every night, or you took the 20,000 that you spent on new debt and you invested in computers and software and you're building a business, those two numbers are totally different. So I just want to make that clear that in one situation, if you spend the money, it's gone. You're not getting you got nothing to show for those meals. Maybe they were really good planning sessions and you had prospects. I hope if you spent 20 grand eating out that you didn't have, but the 20,000, if you invested in software and everything else, and there's still no guarantee it's going to work, that's a much better use of the money. But my point is, between all this debt being taken on, interest rates already going up, the price of oil going from $50 a barrel to 62, basically, over 20% in what, 3 months or so. These are all disturbing, because all these things are literally hurting the people that are trying to do the right thing. People that are living within their means, going to work every day, putting money aside to save and invest, but their cost structure on money is going up. Their cost structure on energy is going up. Their debt that is owed is rising. So the question is their debt rising faster than their assets are going up because of this inflation caused by debt? Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. Well, when the dollars chasing those too few goods are put into the system via debt, that's what really creates the mess that ultimately collapses economies. Now, this could be a slow motion train wreck that they're trying to build, and I think that they're not going to do it overnight, because people would definitely rebel against that. But it feels as though they want to do a little stealth creep, get the thing going, and maybe like the crazy congresswoman from New York, AOC, she says we have 12 years till the end of the world. Maybe in her mind, the end of the world is the end of capitalism. We're going to put in we're going to try to pass policies that destroy the incentive to work, and that there's a ruling class, not a governing class. And we're going to annihilate all the entrepreneurs and just leave the largest corporations that will be the new lords of the, the estates, and everybody else is a serf. That might be what she's talking about, that the world is over. She might be part of this plan to get us to that road to serfdom, where everybody is just, they have to do what they're told, or they get thrown off their land, so to speak. And you have to stay within your division. You don't believe this is already, they're trying to do this? I took some photos when I was in Arizona, my testimony. I never posted them. I guess I'm gonna find them. And I remember telling Liz Harris this, and I want to end on this note, because I'm really curious to see what happens in Arizona in the upcoming weeks. There was this, we went to breakfast at this place, and I was just shocked because it looks very nice. It was a beautiful little campus. There's a apartment building, and then there's a restaurant, really nice restaurant we went to eat, and then there's office space, and then there's a gym, and then there's a little convenience store, and then there's a little grocery store, all within, like, I don't know, like a block and a half. It was like literally like a Lego set, like everything possible within this one little confined area. It's probably like a 40-story building. So, talking a few hundred people, cut 300 people. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this was probably sold at this multi-purpose development. Look at how great this is. And the first thing I'm thinking is, you leave the cage, you leave your invisible fence. I happen to have an invisible fence for my dogs. So, they get shocked with a little collar. You leave this invisible fence area, you're going to get shocked. You better get permission to leave this area. You stay right here. That's what I'm thinking. When something is designed that meticulously, that every single function is there so that they can try to tell you, oh, it's for your convenience, you should be wary of that. That's just my opinion. You have every right to live there. I would never live there in principle, in that type of housing structure, because I just don't trust it. I enjoy driving in the car. Yes, using some fossil fuels. I enjoy going to different areas outside of where I live. That's part of being an American, is being free, traveling, going and meeting different people. So this concept of let's just kind of cage us all up. And they're going to start small, and then they're going to try to create these little moats, and maybe there'll be a larger, maybe there'll be one that's 10,000 people. It's horrible. And this is how they're trying to get to it, folks, with the numbers. They're trying to have you finance their insanity. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We got a lot of work ahead of us if we want to stop this madness. Because like I said, this is just the opening bid. And so with that being said, I will chime in a little bit later, and thank you for listening, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure to create a great day, not just have one, and do your part to make things a little bit better. God bless. I'll talk to you guys soon.